Hello everybody! In today's session we are going to see how we can quickly create a cute character. We are going to talk about different poses and some additional tips and tricks for creating cuteness of a character. So let's jump right in. The canvas that I'm going to create is 2160 by 2700 pixels, and I'm going to use that preset as my initial canvas. The first thing that I'm going to do is to select the brush. When I start with initial sketch, I love to use the 6B pencil, which is the brush that is under sketching category. That's my go-to brush whenever I start with the sketch because the brush is very light. I'm going to go to select pure black, and to quickly select the pure black color here, I can just click twice fast at the bottom side of that color wheel where the darker shades of any hue are located, and this is going to select my pure black color. If you're not sure if the color is black, you can go to volume and you can check if the hexadecimal is just 6 zeros. If that's the code that you see here, then you're using pure black and you're good to go. So once you selected the color, let's start with the sketch. When we are talking about characters and especially more dynamic poses, let's say, we have to think about is the line of our characters. What I mean by that is to create a line that our body, our whole shape of the character is going to follow. For example, if we just create a line like that, which is just a straight line, we can create our character, but our character is going to look pretty stiff, and that's not gonna be pretty interesting for the viewer. In order to create something that's more dynamic, we can just draw a line like, for example, like that. You can see that by creating these two lines, even if I don't draw anything else, you can tell that that line here is quite dynamic, and this is what we're going to start with by creating our initial sketch. I'm going to start with a line like that. So let's clean the layer. I'm going to go to my layers, I'm going to click on clear, and I'm going to start over. Since I want my character to be the same size as the canvas, I'm going to create a line like that. Of course, if that line is not in the center, you can take the transform tool and you can move it slightly to the center, and you're going to see that yellow vertical line if you have your snapping turned on. If you want to know more about how to center things in the canvas on Procreate, I have a video, so you can check it out. It's gonna be in the description box below. I'm going to start with creating the head, like I'm creating a circle-like shape. Keep in mind that when I'm creating that circle, I'm not using my wrist, I'm using more my elbow. If you want to know more about how to draw those lines and how to practice these, I also have a video about that, and it's going to be in the description box below. At first, I'm going to start with creating simple shapes for the body. I'm trying to create those shapes in a 3D world. And if you find this video helpful so far, be sure to subscribe for my channel. It means a lot. And I'm going to create the head and her face. I am going to divide the circle into equal parts, both horizontally and vertically, and I'm going to try to follow that curve in order to imagine how her expression, how her face is going to look. For example, here I know that this is the line that I'm going to follow vertically, and horizontally I'm going to create a line like that. So the thing that I'm going to do now, I'm going to create the eyebrows. For example, here that line is going to help me to imagine that the eyebrows are here. Usually when we create a circle and we divide the circle into 4 equal parts, as we did here, the horizontal line is indicating where our eyebrows are. I'm going to create my eyes. The eyes are just slightly below the eyebrows. I'm going to put them somewhere here. Of course, when I create the eyes, one thing that I need to mention, and it's a good trick to know, when you want to create a balance in an illustration, in an element that you're drawing, when you have your eyes in the same position as your legs, that is going to create a balance in your drawing. That is going to help significantly to improve your balance. For the nose, I'm going to add just curved line like this, and that's gonna be enough for now. Of course, for the nose, you can have plenty of representations. So for now, I'm going to add the mouth here, and I want the mouth to be quite big because the girl is going to be smiling. And then I'm going to add the hair. So for the hair, I really like to use my 6D pencil. Even in the finished illustration, I really like to use that brush for the hair because it represents realistic type of hair, in my opinion. Once I have initial sketch, I'm going to create a new layer on top of that layer, and then I'm going to bring the opacity of the initial layer down to something like 40%, even 30%, so I can see what is going on the layer at the bottom. So once we have that, I can start with refining that initial sketch, fixing things here and there where I don't feel like they look good enough. And now I'm going to create the smile a bit different than the initial idea that I have. So I am trying to create that curve, following the curve that we initially drew. And in order to make that, of course, I have to pay attention to the curve while I'm drawing the dress. Following that line initially is going to help us to create actually that dynamic pose we are aiming for. As you can tell, that part here is not quite equal to the left side, so the right side seems pretty wider. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to select my selection tool, and I'm going to draw a line here. We're going to select the head of the girl, and I'm going to move it slightly to the right, something like that. Once I'm done with that, of course, I'll make a few adjustments. As you can tell, making those adjustments in the sketching phase is way easier than doing that later on, when we already have colors, etc. I feel like I created that torso pretty longer than it needs to be. I prefer to make her legs shorter, and I'm going to make them shorter than I initially drew that. Of course, that is up to you. I'm not trying to create something that's anatomically correct, so really it depends on your taste and what you feel like works best for you. I'm going to hide the first layer, and I'm going to see what I have so far. The thing that you can see here is that we have our eye here, but our leg is not in one line, and you can tell that something's pretty off, I guess. So this is what I wanted to mention first when I drew the illustration, that we need to create that balance between those two elements in the drawing, so we are going to have more balanced illustration. Currently you can see that something's off, and I can tell that the eyes and my legs are not in the same line, so I'm going to take my leg and I'm going to move it slightly to the left. We are going to see what is going to happen. And I still think that this dress is pretty long, so I'll make it shorter. So I'm going to select again my selection tool and I'm going to select part of my drawing and I'm going to move that slightly to the top. I'm trying to follow the lines of the head, so I create more organic sort of lines with my 6B pencil. And now, once we have that sketch, we can first decide if we are going to use some lines from the sketch or we are going to use just colors. For example, now I'm going to keep the sketch because I need to see where I should put the colors of my girl, but later on I may decide to use just parts of that sketch in the final piece, and we are going to see how we can create that. So I'm going to create a new layer on top of my current layer. I'm going to turn the opacity of that layer down to 30%. This is the color palette that I'm going to use for that drawing, and if you want to follow along, you can download it from the video description below for free, so you can check it out. For the colors, I am going to start with the background color because the background color is going to define what kind of colors I should put on top. Because if we, for example, draw the girl from start to finish and then we decide to add the background, it might happen most of the colors are not fitting with the background, and that's going to be pretty tedious to fix later on. So I'm going to start with the background color. I'm going to use that peachy type of color. So once we do that, I'm going to select the color for the skin of my girl and I'm going to use the color next to my background. For here, for example, I'm going to draw with a dry ink brush in inking category. You may just move that layer below my sketch so I can see the lines no matter the color that I'm putting on. I'm not going to use the color fill here because the texture of the brush is going to be lost, and I really like the texture of the drying brush, that's why I'm using it. So in that case, color fill is not going to work because it's going to fill the element with color without texture, and drying brush has a nice awesome texture that I prefer to keep. Okay, here we are. And then it's time to create a new layer and to select a new color. For my dress, I'm going to go with that light, sort of a pink color, and I'm going to create my dress. I really like to use outlines for those type of illustrations, just not everywhere. I like to add them here and there just to emphasize on some parts of the drawing, and that's enough for me. And now what we have to create is to create our hair, which is going to be the most tedious part, I would say. So we are going to create a new layer, and I'm going to select that light orange color, and I'm going to create my hair with orange. Don't worry to use crazy colors for hairstyle. I actually encourage you to try different colors because, of course, that's the illustration. You can use whatever colors you want. I forgot something. I want to create that hair with the 6B pencil, so I'm going to change my brush to 6B pencil. As I mentioned before, I really like how it creates the hair. To be honest, I am also learning stuff every time that I draw characters because I'm not good at drawing people, and I really like to draw stylistically and to learn stuff about the posture, the face expressions, anatomy, etc. It's a journey, so don't worry if you feel like it's too overwhelming to create a character. With time, everything falls into place, so don't worry about it. And now I'm going to create a new layer, and for the new layer I'm going to select my N letter and I'm going to change my blend mode to multiply. Once I do that, I'm going to keep the same color and we're going to see what is going to happen here on the hair, and we're going to see how we are going to add some kind of a shadows. Blend modes are pretty powerful in Procreate and I really like how it works, and I like to use them for shadows and highlights. Okay, so here we are, we already have second color and it really looks nice. And I'm going to create a new layer and I'm going to select again the N, the blend mode, and I'm going to go to screen. That's the blend mode that's more or less opposite to multiply. We're going to use that color, different blend mode, and we can see how we are adding highlights. Since the highlights looks more like skin color, I'm not going overboard with it, so that's enough. And I'm going to create a new layer and I'm going to change the color itself, not the blend modes. The point here is to add as many colors as possible because, as you know, the human hair doesn't have just one color. We have different shades of color. And then I'm going to create a new layer and I'm going to select a different color. I plan to use that orange color. I'm going to see how it works. Oh, nice. That's really nice color here. I think I can also use a color that is not in my color palette. I can try to change color wheel to a yellow, and I'm going to try with that yellow color. And let's see how it goes. Oh, that's great. We have plenty of colors in our hair and I think it looks pretty nice. If we start the sketch layer, we can see that our hair looks pretty cute. I'm going to finish with adding some colors on my face. So I'm going to create a new layer. I'm going to try with that one. If I don't like it, I may try with something else, but let's go with that one and see how it's going to work. And now what we have to do is we need to think about, are we going to use the outlines now or not? I really want to use my outlines because they add additional style to my illustration. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to start my outlines and I'll keep them as reference. And on the new layer, I'm going to select the color of those outlines that I'm going to use. I'm thinking about using something that's more or less like the color of the background but darker. So here I'm going to make experiment because I have no idea what color do I need. So I'm going to select the background color, which was that color here, and I'm going to select the layer and I'm going to turn that blend mode to multiply. Once I do that, I can just draw a line here. So if I need it slightly darker, I can go to hue, saturation and brightness, and I can try to bring the brightness down maybe to 45%, or maybe even I can go to even 40%. Okay, let's take that color for example. I'm going to click on the magic wand and I'm going to select that color. Now I can click on that layer, I can click on clear. So I'm going to start with creating the outlines. And I'm going to use that color also for the eyes and the nose. So in order to make that easier, I can click on the layer where my eyes and nose are, to click on alpha lock, and once we have that, we can click on the layer with my color selected and I can click fill layer. What it's going to create is going to fill everything on that layer with the color that I selected. Because there is an alpha lock, of course it's going to work only on the pixels that are already on that layer. And I'm going to continue with adding the outline of the hands. I don't want to use the outline that I initially drew because I don't like how it turned out. I think it's something that I need not to be that prominent, so that's why I'm adding a new one. And I don't want it to be everywhere, so that's why I created it from scratch basically. One more thing that I feel I need to do is I need to make that outline slightly darker because it feels like it's way too light now. So again, I can go to magic wand and hue saturation brightness, and I can turn the brightness down even more. Now what I want to do, I want to add some highlights and shadows because that's what will make the whole drawing pop. I'm going to also remove that part where the tongue is because I want to draw it with a different color, and I'm going to select a color. So I'm going to select that orange color because it's closer to the reddish part of the color wheel. So I'm going to go down, 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 and I'm going to select red color. And I'll use that as well with blue chalk brush in the sketching theory. I'm going to make the size 5%, and I'm going to add her cheek. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to add the highlights and the shadows. So in order to do that, I'm going to create a new layer, change blend mode to multiply because I'm going to create shadows, and to select a color, and I'm going to select that gray color from the color palette, and I'm going to use my 6B pencil again. I really like 6B pencil for shadows and highlights as well, and I'm going to start by adding some shadows here and there. Keep in mind that at first shadows are going to be pretty sharp, so we are going to reduce the opacity slightly to 40%. And then I'm going to continue with adding more shadows. And of course, when I start adding shadows, subconsciously I decide that the light source is coming from the top right corner. So basically, my dark side, my shadows are going to be from the left side. I'm also going to add some shadows here at the bottom where she stays, basically. And now I'm going to do the same for the highlights. Again, I'll create a new layer, and I'm going to change the blend mode to screen, and I'm going to keep my gray color active because that's the color I'm going to use for that part again. And I'm going to start with adding highlights. And now what I can do as a final touch, I can create a new layer, and I can select a brush. I'm going to go to airbrushing, and I'm going to go to soft brush. And now I am going to select a yellow kind of a color, and I'm going to start with that color again, and I'm going to turn the color wheel just to the yellow part of the spectrum, and I'm going to select that yellow color, which looks okay, and I'm going to do something like that. Of course, currently it looks awful, that's why I'm going to change the blend mode to add. When we change the blend mode to add, we can see that it looks like a very harsh sunlight that is coming from the right side of the canvas. So I'm going to turn the opacity down to maybe 25%. I need something subtle. And now I am going to create a new layer to change the blend mode to add again. Now I'm going to select my 6B pencil again, and I am going to add some very harsh highlights here and there. Of course, that is optional. I just want to show you additional way to add very harsh sunlight in your illustration. And now what we can do is we can go to our layers, we can go to the drop down here to the arrow, and we can go to select all. And now I can get the transform tool, and I can move that drawing slightly down till I see the both horizontal and vertical yellow lines. And one more thing that we can do is go to the top layer in your layers panel, and then go to the range icon, and from there go to add, and here you can click copy canvas. Once you do that, click paste. We are going to see something interesting. At the top of our layers there is the whole canvas that we already drew inserted into one specific layer, and from here on go to magic wand, go to hue saturation brightness, and I can try different color combinations in order to try different things and maybe change the color slightly. And now if you want to see how it looks before and how it looks now, you can just click on that layer and see the difference. So basically you already have a cute little character that you've created in Procreate. That was it. I hope that was helpful for you. Let me know what you think about it and what you create in the comments section below. I read everything and I'll be happy to have a chat with you. If you find this video useful, be sure to subscribe for my channel for more art-related videos in the future and hit that like button. Thank you very much for spending the time with me, and I'm going to see you in the next video. Bye!